You know that feeling, right? You get a piece of feedback from your boss and it's just confusing, or maybe it's demoralizing, or just plain bad. It's this moment that can totally kill your motivation and create this huge gap between you and your leadership. Well, today, we're going to figure out why this happens so often, and more importantly, how we can fix it.
Ooh, an email like this just lands like a punch to the gut. If you're Alex, this feels personal, maybe even paralyzing. But here's the crazy part. Jordan, the manager, probably thinks they just gave clear, direct, actionable feedback. And that right there, that is the communication chasm. Two people, one interaction, two completely different realities.
So the big question is, why is this so incredibly common, even with managers who really do have good intentions? This isn't just a story about bad bosses. Turns out there are some pretty powerful psychological forces at work here, creating this massive disconnect. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack. To really get to the bottom of this, we first have to step inside the leader's head. We're going to look at 3 hidden forces that can turn even the most well-meaning person into a pretty terrible communicator. And it all starts with the very nature of power itself. Okay, so this brings us to this fascinating idea called the power paradox. Research from folks like Dr. Keltner shows that the very things that help someone get promoted, empathy, listening, collaboration, can actually start to fade away once they're in a position of power. It's like the leader's brain starts to focus so much on its own goals that it becomes less and less aware of how their words are actually landing on other people. And here's what that sounds like in the real world. A comment like, "That's a cute idea," isn't just dismissive, it's a shutdown. It tells the employee, "Don't bring me ideas like this again." Now, the leader probably isn't trying to be cruel. Their brain, influenced by their position, has simply lost the ability to see the conversation from the other side of the desk. The second force at play here is something called cognitive load. I mean, think about it. Being a leader is mentally exhausting. You're juggling budgets, deadlines, pressure from your own boss, and your brain's resources for careful, thoughtful, empathetic communication just get totally drained. Under all that stress, your brain defaults to shortcuts. And you know what the ultimate energy-saving shortcut is? Blunt, direct, unfiltered communication. And finally, we've got the expertise trap. So many managers get promoted because they were absolutely amazing at their last job, right? But this creates what's called the curse of knowledge. They literally can't remember what it was like not to know all the things they know now. And this leads straight to impatience, frustration, and a total failure to explain things clearly.
This trap is basically the origin story for the suffocating micromanager. That star performer gets promoted, and they just can't resist jumping in on everything, thinking, just let me do it. I can do this faster and better. This doesn't just annoy their team, it completely destroys their autonomy, their ability to learn, and any sense of ownership they have over their work.
So, knowing all these psychological traps, what do we do? How do we fix this? Well, the answer isn't just telling individual managers to be better. A lot of the time, the problem starts much higher up, at the organizational level. The entire system needs a rewire. The real fix has to start with how we choose and train our leaders. Instead of just picking the best coder or the best salesperson, organizations need to actually train managers on the psychology of power. They need to start measuring communication skills as a core competency, promote people who show they can be great coaches, and find ways to reduce that insane cognitive load so leaders have the mental space to actually be human. Okay, so that's the big picture system stuff. But what can leaders do right now? This is all about the practical, day-to-day tools that can fundamentally change how they talk to their teams. Think of this as the leader's new playbook. This one right here is an absolute game changer. Instead of that vague, finger-pointing feedback like, "Your methodology is flawed," you use the SBI framework. It makes everything objective. You state the S situation, describe the specific behavior, and then explain the I impact. All of a sudden, it's not a personal attack anymore, it's a solvable, work-related puzzle. Now, to fight that expertise trap, leaders have to learn to delegate outcomes, not tasks. And the difference is just massive. Send me a screenshot is all about control. It kills creativity. But saying, "The goal is a 20% faster load time, I trust your expertise to get us there," that's about trust. It unlocks a person's potential. It's the critical shift from being a player to being a coach. And for those moments when the pressure is on, when cognitive load is through the roof, this simple little protocol can be a lifesaver. First, regulate your own emotions. Just pause, take 3 deep breaths. Second, relate to the other person. Find a private space, state the goal you both share. Then and only then do you reason through the problem together, focusing on solutions, not on who's to blame.
All right, but what if you're not the manager here? What if you're on the receiving end of all this? Are you just powerless? Absolutely not. This last part is all about empowering you, the employee, with some diplomatic strategies to manage up and actually improve the communication from your side of the chasm.
So what can you actually say? Well, if you're getting condescension, try what's called a perception check. Something like, hey, I may be misreading this, but the way that came across was, it gently forces them to reflect on their tone. For a micromanager, get ahead of it. Propose a new way of communicating. Like, to give you full visibility, how about I send a quick daily summary? These tools help you take back control.
You know, when you zoom out, this all leads to a really crucial idea. The goal isn't to pretend there's no hierarchy. It's to infuse that structure with humanity, to bring empathy and awareness into every conversation, making the whole system just work better for the actual people in it. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The bad boss is rarely a cartoon villain. More often, they're just a symptom of a system that promotes someone for being good at one thing, then throws them into the deep end with a whole host of psychological challenges they were never ever trained for. Understanding that lets us move from a culture of blame to a culture of diagnosis and solutions.
And that brings us to you. Thinking about the tools we've just covered, the SBI framework, that perception check, delegating outcomes, what is one conversation, big or small, that you can make just a little bit better this week? Because bridging this communication chasm, well, it starts one conscious, well-crafted conversation at a time.